to the mound.
2 balls and a strike to count on Taylor. Reyes fires, swinging a drive, deep left field. It's his way back. Welcome up, Chris Taylor.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into DodgerHeads, presented by DodgerBlue.com, part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network. My name is Jeff Spiegel, joined today by Scott Geirman of DodgerBlue.com. Scott, it's a random pitchers and catchers reporting day. Dodgers starting to make some moves. Jimmy Nelson, the latest guy to sign a major league contract. So Nelson had a $1.1 million team option declined in November. That had bonuses that could take the deal up as high as, I believe, $7 or $8 million. He signs a new deal worth $1.2 million. Incentives could go up as high as $4 million, according to Fabian Ardaya. Nelson, of course, was in the Dodgers organization last year, but never pitched due to injury. Was really good in a limited sample size in 2021. So, Scott, with all of that in mind, give me your immediate reaction to Jimmy Nelson not signing a minor league deal, but a major league deal for $1.2 million.
Obviously, Andrew Friedman and the staff are very confident that will be able to pitch. You know, he suffered, I believe it was the torn labrum. I'm pretty sure that was it. But just like you said, in a small sample size in 2021, he was fantastic. You know, sub 2 ERA, I think 1.86 around there, under 30 innings. But he's been known for the Dodgers changed his usage. They did what they do, and they swapped around his things, made him a primary curveball, 4-seam guy, and he really kind of found it. But, you know, injury bug catches on. And just like I said, I feel like Andrew Friedman's incredibly confident that he will be, you know, available. And with the uncertainty on a few guys in the bullpen, like Blake Trinan, I think if Jimmy Nelson's able to stay on the mound, he's a weapon, definitely a weapon.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm looking at his StatCast stuff. Back in 2021, we're talking about a guy with a 99th percentile fastball spin rate, a 94th percentile curveball spin rate. So you can see what the Dodgers liked about Nelson. Obviously, the on-field performance, a 1.86 ERA, a 2.15 expected ERA. That was in 28 games, 29 innings. The other thing with Nelson is, while he doesn't rank on sort of the StatCast leaderboards because of the small sample size, we're looking at a guy, 84.5 mile an hour was the average exit velocity among qualified pitchers in Major League Baseball last year, relievers and whatnot. That would have put him 4th in all of Major League Baseball. If you want to talk about a strikeout rate, Nelson's strikeout rate was nearly 38%. I mean, that's a top 5, top 10 strikeout rate among guys. And 29 innings. We're not talking about like 9-inning sample size. Yeah. We're talking about 28 appearances. And so all that is great, but Scott, the question is the health. You touched on it. Is your belief, like when you see a move like this, are you thinking, all right, the Dodgers have had a look under the hood. He was in the organization last year. He was rehabbing with them. So does this give you some confidence that the shoulder must be in good enough shape moving forward that, hey, if the Dodgers are going to give him a major league deal when there seems to be minimal interest outside of that, that must be good news from a health perspective?
Sure. You can look at it one of two ways that, if there wasn't a lot of interest outside of the organization, the Dodgers probably, obviously know a bit more. They're familiar with Jimmy Nelson. Just like, you can look at it one of two ways, that they're confident he'll be on the field, or two, you can see that his deal is geared towards very heavy incentives from a reliever. So that's the way that it protects the team and gives Jimmy Nelson, a guaranteed major league contract and a pay bump from the base salary that he had when he was with the Dodgers most recently. But also, I'd like to highlight that they will have Daniel Hudson back.
Yep.
Evan Phillips is who he is. Brusdar, we'd like to see him develop a tiny bit more, but the uncertainty with Blake Trinan, we don't know. And Alex Reyes will, probably hit the 60-day. JP Fireeisen, the same thing like that. Those guys candidates for, mid-season stuff.
Yeah.
So down the stretch, man, they've got a lot of weapons who have performed at a very high level. So This is interesting.
Well, and that was where I wanted to end this video, was talking about the surprising thing to me about the major league deal is I'm looking at the bullpen and it feels like it was crowded already. I mean, if you're doing the basic math of you get 13 pitchers that you can carry, 5 of them are going to be starters, plus one of them who's maybe sort of a 6th starter type, that means you get 7 relief pitchers. Let me read you the guys who are currently on the 40-man roster. Yency Almonte, Phil Bickford, Justin Brule, Caleb Ferguson, Fireeisen, you mentioned, going to be injured. Victor Gonzalez, Brusdar Graterol, Daniel Hudson, Shelby Miller, who's on a major league deal, Evan Phillips, Alex Vesia. So all of those guys, plus Trinan, plus Reyes, plus Fireisen. I don't know how they're going to fit all of these guys. I mean, some guys have options, but some of those guys don't have options. And I even just looking down that list, okay, who are the locks? You've got Shelby Miller, who's a lock because of the contract that he signed.
Mhm.
You've got Evan Phillips, who's a lock. You've got Alex Vesia, who's a lock. You've got Daniel Hudson, who's a lock. You've got Brusdar Graterol, who's a lock. I would say Caleb Ferguson, probably a lock. That's 6 guys. So if Nelson is 7, that would mean, where does Yency Almonte fit? Where does Phil Bickford fit? Brule, Gonzalez. And on top of that, where does Fireisen and Trinan and Reyes, where do those guys fit once they get healthy? I'm just doing the math. And there's a lot of guys on major league contracts or who are good enough to be in this bullpen. There's going to be some juggling going on for Dave Roberts and Andrew Friedman.
Yeah. I don't really want to toss Phil Bickford out as a name that we could see leave the organization. Right before the season, I don't want to do that. But because of the guys that will be on the 60-day, that will help out the roster a good bit. They will have enough arms to get to that spot, find that bridge, which is a great problem to have. I'm glad. Yeah. But when they are available, I hope that at some point they have to make some tough decisions, which means that there's a clean, a solid bill of health. But I have to bring this up. I want to ask you, do you remember there have been years when the Dodgers really lacked that, that velocity in the bullpen? Yeah. Doesn't it feel now again that Andrew Friedman is geared up where that's a lot of all you see?
Yeah.
High velocity, high spin rate, power stuff. And when they're at their best, this is exactly what we saw 2020, same type of thing. Yeah. All high powered arms. So I feel like they're in a really, really comfortable spot.
Yeah, I love the bullpen. Like, I should clarify that. I love the group of arms. Like, I think we're talking because we're sort of putting Fireisen and Trinan to the side, but like JP Fireisen was like fantastic for the Rays last year. Blake Trinan, if he can come back healthy, which is a big if, is one of the best relief pitchers in baseball. Evan Phillips is one of the best pitchers in baseball. Daniel Hudson, when he was healthy, was fantastic. And then you have the projects of the Shelby Miller and the Alex Reyes, Jimmy Nelson, who are all 3 on major league deals. And then you get to the Vesias and the Graterols and the Almontes, who all 3 of them were borderline elite last year. I mean, Vesia was like a top 8 strikeout rate guy. And so the bullpen is as deep as it has ever been. I think Evan Phillips is a clear number 1 guy in that bullpen. Doesn't mean he's going to be the closer. Could easily probably be the fireman is my guess. But again, it is a good problem to have. I'm just surprised that Shelby Miller, Jimmy Nelson, and Alex Reyes all end up with major league deals, because that means you can't option these guys. Reyes will be on the 60-day IL. Like you said, he's expected to miss a decent chunk of time. So he's sort of off to the side, but you've just got a lot of guys that come September are going to be expected, and we didn't even mention, I mean, like the Bickfords, the Brules, the Victor Gonzalez's of the world, like, let alone Michael Grove and Ryan Pepio and Bobby Miller and like the guys who are going to be fighting for that sort of 6th starter spot as well. I mean, it's just a glut of arms, and it's a good thing for us as fans to be looking at and saying they're going to figure it out. I would also mention like Jimmy Nelson, Shelby Miller, Alex Reyes. Those deals are all like, I believe $1.5 million or less. And so like, if one of those guys doesn't work out, like DFAing them is not going to crush anybody. Absolutely. The Dodgers can afford to DFA them, but I don't know. I look at that group, and again, we could go through it, and I'm not going to keep doing it on here, but it feels like they've got 9 major league guys for about 6 spots. And that's going to be a tricky thing for Dave Roberts to manage.
Sure. Absolutely. I totally agree. Yeah. Just because they have a major league deal doesn't mean they're guaranteed, but there will be some roster manipulation, guys getting sent up, sent down. They'll, play true to what they do, make it work, and they'll find spots. There will always be a need for arms in AAA at the ready. And as we've seen in the past, a lot of them have no problem doing that if they have options available. Yeah. And it feels like the bullpen is as really close knit as it's been in some time. And I really want to see how Yency Almonte develops. I'm really excited. Yeah.
Yeah, and you say it doesn't matter if they have a problem, by the way, about getting optioned or not, because if you've got options and you can be optioned,
They're going to
then
use them.
bummer for you is kind
Yep.
of the way Major League Baseball works, unfortunately. So it's not a very player-friendly situation, but if you're the Dodgers and you're trying to build the best bullpen, it's going to be something to watch. So with spring training just around the corner, pitchers and catchers reporting. I mean, I know a bunch of us from Dodger Blue are going to be down at spring training, beginning of March, end of February. And so these are the types of things I'm curious to watch. What does Jimmy Nelson look like? What does Yency Almonte look like? What does Victor Gonzalez look like? Some of those guys who maybe are going to find themselves competing for spots either on the inside looking out or the outside looking in will be fun to watch. Let us know what you guys think below. Are you excited to see Jimmy Nelson back? I know we got a bunch of people on staff with us at DodgerBlue.com. Big Jimmy Nelson fans. Daniel Starkin, a big Jimmy Nelson fan. So there's some excitement, but I've just got questions of how it all fits together. That's Scott Geirman. My name is Jeff Spiegel. As always, you can check out Scott's stuff over at DodgerBlue.com. Make sure you subscribe to here. Ring the notification bell. Check out Dodger Blue 1958 everywhere on social media. And of course, check out DodgerHeads wherever you get your podcast. We appreciate you joining us. As always, enjoy the rest of your day and go Dodgers.